All right. Brandon Chalmers.
Sir!
I have inadvertently started a blood feud, a good old podcast blood feud, the likes of which the Hard Knock Media Podcasting Network has never before seen. Last week, I shit on the boss. I told him that it was bullshit for them to take a break because what we do as podcasters is zero effort. And he came back with heaters. Not only on this week's Hard Knock Life podcast did he call me out for being a dickhead, rightly so. They came back to talk about the latest DC news, but also he interviewed former President Obama's chief speechwriter on his podcast to talk about his latest book, but also to talk about like what he would do with the DC universe and stories that he likes and shit. So like we are fighting a losing game here. We are David to the boss's Goliath.
Whoa. All right. Hang on. Let's take things one at a time. First and foremost, I was informed that they were on a break. Now, if I am incorrect about that, fine. I'll own it. No problem. But to my understanding, I was told you're on a break, and it's not my fault that the boss doesn't understand the fucking definition of a break. But fine, at the risk of sounding like a fucking Friends episode, my bad, boss. My apologies. Now, that aside, where the fuck are our rad-ass interviews? What the fuck? And you know what? I'm going to stand up here, and I'm going to say, Jamie.
Yes. Brandon.
Big deal. I wrote speeches for Obama. Look, unless you are currently writing Obama's comedy bits, that shit don't matter anymore. Nobody cares about policy speeches. Man's got a tight five going on right now, and he was absolutely dominating everyone in front with a live mic when he is absolutely just shilling for Raphael Warnock. Congratulations on the win. I know he's not going to hear it. I don't care. Like, the idea that was a fucking competition was banana pants to me.
Oh, God.
Like, a man that charismatic doesn't need a speechwriter. He needs someone to remind him not to say the word fuck and then start smoking on camera. That's about it. He needs a handler with a Nerf bat, and that's about it. I can't imagine Obama being unhinged and suddenly just being like, well, go fuck yourself. And yeah. All right.
Actually, that's
check out Michelle's arms.
That's one of the things that the guy, and I forgot his name. So fuck me twice.
See, this is what I'm saying. You got into a blood feud with the boss, misinformed me, and even then, after you watched, you still forgot the guy's name.
Yeah, but he said something to the same effect, like Obama didn't need us around. He just needed someone to get the juices flowing, get some ideas out there.
Right.
And there would be times where
what are we interviewing?
What are we interview each other on the regular.
No. I'm gonna throw, if we're gonna throw shade, I'm gonna throw shade. What are we talking about here? Us shilling for this guy's book? Is that what we're talking about? I don't know who this guy is. You don't know who this guy is. He wasn't on our podcast. So I'm curious where our interview is. I want to ask him the hard-hitting questions. How many times does Obama say cunt during the day? Does he actually tolerate most people? Has he ever thrown anything at anyone? Have you ever been chased out of the room with a fucking wiffle bat? Like, I'd like to believe that guy's got a bit of flavor, and I'd like to believe you yield a wiffle bat like a fucking Jedi. Like, I'd like to believe he is the Mace Windu of the West Wing, and he's just fucking waving around a fucking fungo bat, just getting ready to take out any intern who's got a fucking big lip, like just ready to just jaw jack. Oh no, that's a great idea. Just fungo, and just right to the head.
Bong. Right. I think Keith just knows, like, Keith knows everybody.
I get it. No, I understand. He like vacations with Lin-Manuel Miranda. I understand. Yeah. Like, and Keith, this is, by the way, this is what I'm talking about, by the way. He we've talked about this in previous podcasts. We're punching up.
Yeah.
He's punching down.
That's true. That's true.
He is quite literally attacking his employees right now.
I do have
and then using it as content for the website.
I do have to give Keith some credit. He did try to get us an interview with Justin Lin of Fast and Furious fame. Right. He was promoting, there was a show that was out and I watched the show and now I don't remember what the show was called.
Cool.
But he was promoting that show and they requested like sample questions. And I was like, well, I don't know anything about this show. I want to know where Justin Lin takes people to eat. Like when they come visit him, like you're coming to visit me. This is where I like to eat. You can't get this where you're at.
Yeah. By the way, I never got forwarded these questions, so I never got to have the opportunity to feed Jamie a couple softball questions to get him to take the interview in the first place.
The problem is that we're not LA based, and so like a lot of the
LA.
Yeah, a lot of the interviews and the opportunities that come to the podcast network's way get farmed out to the people who are local. So. I have to give Keith credit there because he does try his best to look out for us.
We're just a lonely podcast from the greater Baltimore and DC metro area. We know nothing about policy or procedure or politics or anything else like that. So we're definitely not qualified to speak to Obama's fucking apparently handler. Right. Okay. All right. No, it's fine. I don't know who I'm getting snubbed by, but I know I'm getting snubbed. I know that much.
So we started about Blood Feud. I don't know how it ends.
It ends with us getting fired from the podcast network. At least me. Like
I don't know. I don't know how it ends, but we have the only thing we have is that we maybe record more regularly, but I don't think that's true because they upload stuff all the time. So like. I'm not sure what else we can bring.
He's got a much bigger cast of characters. I can play guitar. Just you and I running this thing.
I could play guitar, so that's what I got.
Yeah, like I let me tell you right now, Jamie. Nobody else on the podcast network released Sushi Boat Time. I know that much.
Oh my gosh! So I get stats on the music I released through DistroKid.
Right. Yeah, broke 1 million already, huh?
No one gives a shit about that song. They've been listening to Get the Fuck Away From Me, which is like a 30-second track that I started at the beginning of the pandemic because I was like, I need to do something. So that song gets listened to all the time.
That song's a banger. I literally listened to Get the Fuck Away From Me on shuffle today on the way home.
Sushi Boat Time gets like no plays. And I worked my ass off of that. I was like, I learned how to fucking mix things and like sibilances, take that shit out and all these frequency stuff. And
see, this is what's wrong with the kids these days. They don't appreciate real music.
Well, I don't know if it's the kids or if it's just I'm spending too much time on it when I should just keep releasing just random tracks.
I think that's a great idea. Continue to release random shit.
Yeah.
I'm here for all of it.
Yeah. So yeah, the other thing I wanted to talk about is that we're kind of switching up the format, not necessarily, but last week I didn't bother playing the intro until the end of the podcast.
Ah, okay.
And that's like YouTube is playing a lot of YouTube is in the podcast game. A lot of people are playing, putting their podcasts on YouTube.
Yeah.
And strategically, no one gives a shit about your intro. In fact, if you play your intro, a lot of people tune out at that point.
Yeah.
Because they're like, fuck that.
So it's an outro now.
So we'll play the actual song at the end. We can talk, like we can intro each other. Like
that's fine.
This is the fucking Do It Cast. That kind of thing.
Right.
But the music bed is going to be at the end.
All right. Fair enough.
And then one other thing, I changed the bottom graphic. It used to say, "Get vaxxed, you fucks." And now it says "Fight fascism and fascists." So
cool.
Because I don't know why that's a thing. We fought 2 fucking wars about it.
Yeah, but realistically, if you listen to some of the shit, like I was tearing through, what the fuck was it? Matto's new thing, Ultra. Where she talked
you told me about that. Yeah.
Right. And that shit's wild.
I have beef to pick. And this is because of history. But like, so I thought that the last episode was going to coincide with the midterm election, so that like, you know, the last episode hits, it leaves us with an up feeling thing, and we're like, and we're getting into the midterms and like we're kicking ass. Oh no, it doesn't end with a positive note.
No.
And it didn't end in the midterms. And I was like, okay, I understand why it didn't end at the midterms. And then the last episode hits and I'm like, where's the conclusion? Where's the conclusion?
There isn't one.
Everyone got arrested.
It still happened.
Exactly.
It never stopped.
No one gave a shit. Sure, they blew up a power station and all this stuff, but
and that's wild.
Yeah. But they didn't get to serve in Congress. That was the consequence.
That's it.
That pissed me off. And I was like, thank you for telling me about this, but now I'm even more mad.
Yeah. I have learned, what have I been listening to recently that gives me a super similar feeling to it? And like, I'm glad that I am informing myself, but it is also very fucking sad. What the fuck is it? Where is it? American Scandal. So this is by the podcast network Wondery, and essentially they go through and they pick scandals and then tear into them. So like the first one might not be so interesting to you, but was interesting to me was Balco. It was about the steroid scandal that went through Major League Baseball and the Olympics and everything else like that through the 90s and early 2000s about Barry Bonds and all of that shit. The second one, though, was a 6-parter about the Hare Krishna murders and learning about Krishna and all of the fucking craziness that happened with that was amazing to listen to. And doesn't necessarily end the way you think it's going to end, and just it is very good. They also went and did one about the Exxon Valdez.
Oh wow!
And the oil spill and the reactions to everything. I
remember that.
Right. And what it does is it basically takes major. Oh, also the Iran-Contra one was fucking great. But it lets me, like, I knew a bit about Iran-Contra. I didn't understand all of the ins and outs of it. It goes through and it breaks down. It basically picks like the perspective of one person for one episode and goes through their involvement. Yeah. And then the next one, as the story goes along, starts to weave this web together. And then usually by the last episode, like everything kind of comes into focus. You're like, fuck, what? But like what I have learned is I have to be very comfortable with the idea that these are not stories that are being told. They are historical incidents that are being reported on. Yeah. And they're being presented in an entertaining way with backbeds of music and, you know, slow reading and kind of putting everything together in a very palatable format. But the story goes wherever the story goes. It's not like we clean everything up at the end and we kind of, you know, the bad guy gets their comeuppance. Like it's not that way all the time. And that's a very difficult thing to come to grips with reality. And Ultra was a very real reminder of like, this is some wild shit.
Well, because Bagman ended the way we wanted it to end. Like that motherfucker.
Well, let's not forget that Gerald Ford pardoned Nixon. So let's
But the Veep got there were consequences.
Kind of
time. I don't know. I felt I was hopeful for our country. Because I was like, you're rooting for us to be like, this is not who we are.
We're better than this.
But nuh-uh.
We're not.
But nuh-uh. But nuh-uh.
Yeah.
And but also nuh-uh.
Yeah. It's given me a very
maybe it's not surprising that the 501st is a very popular thing for people to do.
No, it's not.
Maybe it shouldn't be surprising.
Well, I mean, in all fairness, people yearn for structure, so I'm not surprised that is something that they get excited about. And to their credit, at least, unlike the Republican Party, the 501st actually do good things for children in need. Yeah, unlike the Republican Party, who is more interested in the kids being born and then telling them to go fuck off after they take their first breath. God. So, you know, it's weird that space Nazis treat kids better than the GOP, but whatever.
But
it's fine. It's fine.
Biden's laptop.
Right, yeah. Darth Vader's a fucking badass, but I swear to God, if I got to pay for your fucking textbook, I'm going to absolutely fucking wreck this Denny's. I will wreck this Denny's. You hear me? God damn it.
I think,
swear to God, I will fucking burn this Applebee's to the ground, riblets and all.
Yeah. It was bad. Thank you for recommending it. It was a great podcast.
And that was one of those, like, I knew that was going to feed every part of your, like, which I know you love and hate at the same time. But like, when I hear something that is that good and that informative and gave me a very clear idea about who and what is out there, has been out there, has shifted, has not really shifted. Like it reinforced some things. It informed a ton of things. It gave me weirdly comfort in, like, how the fuck did we get here? And it's like, oh, because we've been here before and we're always kind of here. Yeah. It's like, okay, all right. And I realize that, like, as silly as a reference as this is going to be, much like you and I reminiscing with rose-colored glasses about the Attitude Era of wrestling, we forget all of the dog shit segments that happened. Oh, yeah. And it's not all beer trucks and Stone Cold and The Rock and catchphrases and chair shots or whatever. It's a lot of fucking trash. And we forget about a lot of that. And our government, weirdly, is much like wrestling. It's run by people who are far too old to be in positions of power, taking advantage of people, getting hush money things, then being forced out, and then actually having the audacity to think that they got bad advice and then could weather the storm and actually come back. Swear to God, that's the fucking report that I caught this morning. That after repeated allegations, they could continue to do this. And yet here we are continuing to vote for these fucking people. Like somehow they're magically going to change. If someone tells you who they are, listen to them for the love of everything that you are. It's just a whole House and Senate full of Vince McMahon. It really is. And it makes me very sad because I lump a lot of really great people who are trying to do the right thing, who maybe aren't the most palatable or maybe could use a little polish, but like at a certain point, they're elected officials. They're not. I mean, I guess it is a fucking popularity contest, which I fucking hate. It is now. It's always been. Yeah, but it's especially now. Right. It's like, it's on steroids now. Right. But like, we don't pay attention to, I literally, like, the one I'm honing in on is Katie Porter, right? Oh yeah. Katie Porter is a fucking dynamo on a microphone. Yeah. She is whip smart. She's super capable. She knows exactly what she's talking about. If the board comes out, your ass is grass. If the board comes out, your ass is grass. And yet I have literally seen in forums, I mean, she makes some good points, but she's real fucking ugly. And it's like, fuck you. God damn it. Like, why does she have to fucking look like Megan Fox to make a point? Because you're not gonna listen to her if she looks like Megan Fox. You wouldn't listen. Yeah, you don't even listen to Megan Fox. Right. And we shouldn't. Have you seen her thumbs? Yeah, they look like toes. I watch Transformers. I'm not gonna listen to Megan Fox. But like that's. This is what fucking bothers me. And then we get back to the whole shit of like, why do we continue to elect these old fucking white dudes? And it's like, because somehow these cucks manage to be the only people with credibility to the 50 somethings out there. And I don't fucking understand it. Logic, reason, fucking like facts and figures, things that are presented in front of you. Like, you can throw them out the window the second that you maybe are female or you have a D after your representation. It's like, Jesus fucking Christ, could we not do this shit? Yeah. Sorry, No, I mean, I've been feeling this and I cannot wait for 2 more years of Hunter Biden's penis on Twitter and his laptop. Like, who cares? Who fucking cares? Good. Fuck it. Fucking, let's just throw Hunter Biden in jail and move on.
I don't honestly give a shit.
I don't give a fuck about Hunter Biden.
He's not part of the administration.
He's not part of the administration. I don't give a fuck about Hunter Biden. Frankly, if we just sent him off into a field and he just lived in a fucking yurt somewhere, I'd be perfectly happy.
That's fine.
I don't care.
He's never expressed any policy.
Fuck it. You know what?
Anything.
Let's solve two problems at once. Let's send Hunter Biden to Gitmo, and then let's fix Gitmo because Hunter Biden's in Gitmo. Like, let's fucking make a Reese's cup of bad ideas, and let's solve some real goddamn problems for fucking once.
CEO thinking right there, Brandon.
Right. To things that people don't seem to actually give a shit about making better, and things that people shouldn't give a shit about at all. And let's just put those two things together. Fuck it.
I did want to hit on one thing before we get into what we're geeking on.
Sure.
And I think this may bring some light into your life. Dave Chappelle decided that at the end of his show, it would be good to bring on Elon Musk on stage.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't watch the Elon Musk episode of Saturday Night Live, but I understand that it wasn't funny at all.
No, to my understanding, just shy of the Steven Seagal episode.
Yeah.
Which is widely perceived as the worst episode ever.
Yes, but it had Steven Seagal. And Steven Seagal is funny not on purpose. Like
you don't find
Steven Seagal funny.
No. One, listen to the I can't believe it's a 4-part dollop episode on Steven Seagal because it's fucking wild. Like him being personally invited by Duterte or whatever it is. To do promotional material and everything else like that. That's like the 9th dictator that he's done that personal appearance fee for.
Never mind.
I retract my statement. Seagal did some movie that was fucking awful that was about him being an environmentalist or whatever it is, and it has like a 20-minute fucking ending where he just rambles on. And they cut it super short or whatever it is. And apparently the end of SNL, the last segment of that SNL episode with Steven Seagal, the bit that he pitched and that was supposed to be on was him just randomly beating the crap out of everyone and then doing that speech before that speech was actually in that movie. And the last segment was so bad, then instead of doing the closing of the show, they put the little tag thing at the bottom and moved to the next thing. It's like the only SNL episode that they never did the waving goodbye.
Oh my God.
They didn't want to go out there and hang out with Steven Seagal and give him that moment. It was that fucking bad. To my understanding, you have to go search for it on YouTube and find a secondary broadcast because NBC and Peacock won't air it.
That's amazing.
It's so bad. They want no part of it. Not even to be like, Jesus Christ, is this fucking awful? They want so little to do with this. Jamie, when he got done doing Steven Seagal Lawman, where he got thrown out of the fucking bayou, they sent him to Arizona with Joe fucking Arpaio, where they went to go bust a dude. Hang on, you're laughing now. Who had a little bit of weed on him or something like that. They invaded the guy's compound. And while Steven Seagal was talking about, I think this dude had reptiles or something like that, where he had I'm trying to remember, so bear with me. He had an outstanding warrant, but also he had pets he wasn't supposed to have because he was spotted, I think, at a cockfight or something like that while having warrants. And then they went in to go bust this guy for his warrants and immediately broke the gate down. And the first thing they did was shot this guy's dog.
Oh my God.
Steven Seagal goes rambling on for 8 minutes before this happens, talking about how pissed off he is that he's an environmentalist and he's an animal lover and everything else like that. And this guy has the audacity to claim that he's the same and then go to a cockfight and then immediately breaks down his gate and shoots his fucking dog. And what I learned is that Steven Seagal is fucking awful. Joe Arpaio is exactly as awful as you think he is. And A&E might be even worse because they found out about allegations a second sexual assault, that Steven Seagal apparently hired this woman to be his assistant, but then insisted that she sexually please him at least twice a day.
Oh, no.
And then covered it up because that's why they moved from New Orleans to fucking Arizona. And then he hired another assistant and they tried to help him cover that one up. And
I can't even any statement I made about right, being entertaining.
And this is not your fault because context, but like Jesus Christ, when Joe Arpaio weirdly is the best of the three, when you're like Marry, Fuck, Kill, Joe Arpaio, A&E Network, and Steven Seagal, and you're like, well, I guess I gotta marry Joe Arpaio because he's the least bad. You're like, Jesus Christ.
Oh my God. So my only experience of Steven Seagal is his movies where he does really shit Aikido.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know any of this other shit.
Oh my God. It is absolutely it is an enthralling listen to understand because like in the first 10 minutes, he like goes to Japan, falls in love, manages to get taken in by somebody, then decides he's really good, then decides to abandon his wife and kid in Japan and then go back to America and then immediately get married again. And like, we never resolve the fucking kid and the first wife. They're just out there. He was like, well, right. And like, I just picture him like shit ponytail and all, just be like, konnichiwa, and just like fucks off to America. And they're seeing him in the news and everything else like that. And he goes and fucking does like Under Siege 2 and does a tour of Tokyo for it. And his wife and son show up and he's like, I don't know who you are. And then just fucks off somewhere else. Jamie, I swear to God, there were like 9 different people that they had things about sexual allegations with.
Fuck.
There was a whole thing with DMX. They're like, there's just like,
oh my
it's
God,
fucking wild to listen to. But yeah, in turn, Steven Seagal might be one of the anecdotally worst people on the planet. And that's fucking impressive.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how, like,
I don't know where the fuck we got started from. Sorry, I took you on a ride. My bad.
But I don't know how Dave thought that Elon Musk had anything funny to say.
Because I think Dave is of the mindset, at least this is my read on Dave, that people with dissenting opinions deserve a microphone because people need to toughen up a little bit. And I can understand the idea of that to an extent. I think telling someone to stop being such a fucking wimp about shit. Stop, like there's a number of incidences where I could be like, could you maybe get the fuck off the ground, stop crying, and let's get back to work? I get. Dave Chappelle's a turf motherfucker, and I don't really care for him anymore. That's a real shame because I really enjoyed his shit. But Jesus Christ, over the last couple of years, have I learned a valuable lesson in separating the art from the artist or lack thereof. And Elon Musk is enabling fucking racists and Nazis and all sorts of awful fucking humans that are debatably not human. And I don't understand the idea of looking at that guy and understanding why or how somehow that makes all of us better by giving him an equal and fair platform. Like what the fuck? And then fuck Dave also for when people started booing Elon, that he made the joke of, oh, I guess some of the people you fired are here tonight. Yeah, like somehow 10,000 people losing their jobs is just a yuck moment. Yeah, and it's like, I'm supposed to care about Dave Chappelle's mental breakdown when he had one during Chappelle's show, but a couple thousand people lose their jobs because dickhead fucking electric car tycoon and emerald mine fucking bearer suddenly decides that he puts his foot in his mouth and he spends more money than he should. And now he doesn't know what to do. Yeah. We're just going to make the fucking yucks about it. It's like, fuck you, man. Like, that's not, there are tons of things that you can make fucking jokes about. A bunch of people losing their jobs is just not fucking all right. It's just not. No, it's cruel. There's no, I see no real, it's punching down. Right. Dave Chappelle took a swing at everyone who got fired by Elon Musk. Yeah. And to put him on stage and to let Elon Musk say, I'm rich, bitch. Well, that was, to be fair to everyone involved, Dave got pushed into that, and then he pushed Elon into that, because when you were at the time the richest man in the world, no longer the richest man in the world.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yep. Why wouldn't you get that dickhead who's already catching a ton of heat to do your catchphrase? Because it's going to make you chuckle, because fuck it. What do you care? You got paid.
That's true. That's true.
Dave filled that arena. He got paid. People aren't, if you're going to go see Dave Chappelle at this point, you are not pissed off by him giving Elon a microphone. You might not like it. You're still going to see Dave.
Yeah.
You have made this decision to go see Dave. None of Dave's previous behavior or comments have made you be like, I really fucking love Chappelle's show and this sucks. I'm good. Thanks.
Yeah.
Like, because that's where I am. Chappelle's show in a bubble was an amazing time. And I loved all the bits, and I thought they were very funny and they were very provocative. And he rubbed a lot of people the wrong way for all the best reasons. Yes. But I think there's a very real difference in between him playing a blind old black guy who doesn't understand that he's black and is racist as fuck to everybody, and him giving Elon Musk a microphone after everything that happened. And they're both provocative, but one of them I think is helping to exacerbate how ridiculous the racism is, and the other is enabling a fucking racist. Yeah. And I don't understand how you can speak out of both sides of your mouth by doing that shit.
Yeah, and
it makes no sense to me. And maybe I'm an idiot. Like, yeah. And that is. Look, and if I'm an idiot, I'm an idiot. But in the perfectly clear version of this, I feel like I understood Chappelle's comedy when he did it and what he was trying to do. And I laughed at it, and I thought it was very funny. And I thought I was very amused by the idea of the whole premises. I'm like, fucking stick it in their ear, get after him. And I loved all that. And then I'm here now watching this, and I'm going, if the idea is to poke at everybody, fine. But to what end?
Right.
Because I don't understand what you're trying to accomplish here.
It doesn't, he doesn't seem to have anything to say now, except that, like, y'all should get over yourselves. I'm rich. Fuck you.
Right.
And that's not funny.
Right.
But then also, like, Elon complaining about being canceled and all that stuff. Everyone is listening to you. You have the biggest platform, like, you say anything, and this is spread right, all over. Like,
more importantly, he's enabling people who are saying things 14 times worse than him, and then he goes and looks into the camera and goes, "I'm just protecting free speech." It's like, great, on a private platform, you're allowing racism to happen, anti-Semitism to happen.
Yep.
You're not protecting free speech there, because ultimately, if you incite a riot, free speech suddenly goes away. Your actions do have consequences. It's freedom of speech, not freedom of consequence. If people hear you speak and they tell you to go fuck yourself, and they warn you to cross the street when they see you, that's not, like, you still had free speech. Good for you. You still have to face the consequence of what you said.
Yeah.
Like, if my boss hears this and he disagrees with me so hard that he's like, you got to go, that's me putting my job on the line when I come here and I speak. I know this. I don't think it's going to happen. I think I would, at worst case scenario, have a very difficult conversation about how I behave outside of work. Yeah. But that is... It's a very real thing. I think if I was on here spouting anti-Semitism or racism, I think somebody should have a real fucking conversation with me about that shit.
Yeah.
Like,
well, it would be the end of this.
It would, right. You would be number one with a fucking bullet.
Yeah, I'd be like, nah.
Right, yeah. Well,
there are teaching moments, and then there's nah.
Right. And more importantly, there are teaching moments, but he's not interested in learning. Yeah. Elon's not interested in learning. Dave's not interested in learning.
No.
When you are that rich and you have a bunch of glad-handed yes men around you, you stop taking advice, and eventually you start eating your own tail.
Yeah. And then your stock prices get tanked.
And then your stock prices go down, and good, because again, freedom of speech isn't freedom of consequence.
Oh yeah.
Like, Vince McMahon's learning that. Elon's learning that. Like, I'm glad. Because ultimately, money is the only thing that these people get affected by.
Yeah.
In the companies that they're part of, they misbehave or whatever it is, and the company has to pay a fine. It doesn't go to jail.
Yeah.
It doesn't suddenly get taken down. It doesn't have its licenses revoked and say, hey, you're not allowed to be in. If we indicted the fucking Twitter Corp for behavior and it got found guilty of misdoing and it got charged with these things, they wouldn't turn their servers off. Right. They'd fine Twitter, and then Twitter would continue to make potentially money, provided it was actually a lucrative company.
Well, they might kick him out of the building because he's been refusing to pay the city of San Francisco the rent he needs to pay on the building.
Cool. Right. But you and I both know that that's a ploy to fight against one of the most liberal cities in the country.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
We're about to have the second richest man in the world complain about the exorbitant prices in San Francisco and how the Democratic government of San Francisco skyjacked these prices. And while that might be partially true, you don't get to complain about that, you rich bitch.
Yeah.
You don't get to say, I'm rich, bitch, and then complain about having to pay a bill. I'm rich, bitch. Like, fuck it. Right. Because if he wanted to move Twitter, he could move Twitter.
Yeah, it's true.
I guarantee you, if he decided that he wanted to buy an office building in downtown Dallas, the fucking state of Texas would wave him in like a fucking 747.
Oh, yeah. Oh, they'd love that shit.
Right. So it's all a fucking game.
Yeah. Feels bad.
What does?
Just
watching Twitter burn to the ground? Because yeah. I'm pretty all right with that.
Oh, man. Well, Brandon, besides laughing at billionaires, what are you geeking on?
What the fuck am I geeking on? What have I been doing lately? I think realistically, Jamie, it's just been a lot of work and trying to stay up with that shit. And I think I will go with my 10-minute diatribe about American Scandal, that podcast series, as my what have I been geeking on? Clearly, it's enough that I've been shouting about it. So let's feel free to hit the rewind, double back if you want to talk about that or hear my Anyway, so Jamie Noguchi, what have you been geeking on?
Do you remember the Scholastic Book Fair from your childhood days in elementary school?
I think I know where you're going. And yes, Jamie, it was a magical time where I got to experience the financial independence of being able to take my not so hard-earned money from my dad and go to the book fair and be able to buy whatever I please, because the Scholastic Book Fair was full of great titles and great items that were all safe for kids to buy, and got a chance to get into whatever I wanted to get into. I could buy horror books, I could buy magazines, I could buy coloring books, I could buy pencil sharpeners, I could get all sorts of things. And I am paraphrasing, of course, because it's been fucking while since I've actually been to a Scholastic Book Fair.
Oh, yeah.
But I remember them having like the weird, gigantic fucking metal bookcases that were like set up as a temporary shop, and they set up like right in front of the auditorium. And like, it was a great experience because I got to confidently walk over and go, all right, I have $20 and I can buy one of these and one of these and one of these. And then I go over to my teacher and then I double check my math, and she's like, you got to put something back.
Yeah.
You go, okay. And then you go and you look at your stuff, and then you look at your money, and then you look at your stuff, and you look at your money, you look at the stuff, money, stuff, money, stuff, money, stuff, money. And you're like, And then you put the thing back that you really probably shouldn't have put back, because that pencil sharpener is shaped like a duck, and I fucking love that shit. And then you go back over, and then you ring yourself out, and then you take those dollars because you couldn't remember how much you actually had. You grip those fucking ones in your hand like Thanos. And you walk over and you start scanning because you're like, his money's burning a hole in my pocket. I swear to God, if I come back with any more than 14 cents, I will actually die. It was a delightful experience.
It is.
It is a lesson in independence. It is a very positive experience for kids to be able to learn and pick the things that they want. It's a chance to encourage already existing interests. Like it's a fucking 10. Like, I love it.
It's book fair week this week, and
nice.
Seeing all the kids just light up when they're coming out, like, look what I bought, look what I bought, look what I bought, or just grabbing on their parents and saying like, can we go to the book fair?
Can we go to the book fair? Right. And the idea that kids are like, I want to go get books. And you're like, this feels fucking weird, but let's go with it. Yeah. All right, let's go do this. But just not too many, because you can't give them the idea that they can just buy as many books as they want. No matter how much you want to encourage that shit, like there's a limit.
There are so many good YA comics too. Like I see,
like what, Jamie? Like one that you make?
No, ours isn't on the shelves this year.
What? I thought we were heading down the road.
No, but I've seen stuff from some of my friends on the shelves, and it's amazing.
Okay.
It's great to see all their stuff out there, and like to see, like, to talk to the librarian and she's like, oh yeah, I had to order more of those because they're flying off the shelf. And it's good to see your peers getting their shine and the kids connecting with their stuff and getting excited about all this shit.
Yes.
And like bookmarks are still popular. Erasers are still popular.
Yes.
They have the candy, but I think for the most part, like the comics are going, man. Kids love them some comics. And that's good to see. Personal gain aside, that warms the heart that kids are still running toward comics like they used to. Yeah. That's awesome. And then I was like, well, why don't they have book fair for middle school, high school, college, and us? And then I was like, oh, that's just going to the bookstore.
Well, no, I had it for middle school too.
They had it in middle school?
Yeah, they had it for middle school for me too.
Yo, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think it was only 6th and 7th graders, maybe.
Okay.
But I remember at least for 6th graders, that was a thing.
So you had middle school, which is 6, 7, and 8?
Yes.
Okay. We had junior high school. So we didn't have that shit. 7 and 8, they were like, fuck you. You don't get to have any fun.
Yeah. It was, I had K through 5 at the elementary school, 6, 7, and 8 at the middle school, and then 9, 10, 11, and 12 all at the high school. So it broke everything up that way. So kids got to be dickheads, informative, and whatever it is in middle school. And they very much broke that school up into sections where like the kids didn't really merge much. And like all the 6th graders were kind of in a general area. Yeah. And like the only time that you came across anyone, like they had different bells and everything.
Oh wow.
Because they didn't want any fucking shenanigans happening. So it was like you broke, and like the 6th graders would go first on the first bell, and then a couple minutes later it was the 7th graders, and then the 8th graders, and then there was a secondary bell for the 6th grade. Like, so you had a little bit of mingling, but the chance of a 6th grader and an 8th grader being in the same place at the same time was like ships in the night. Like you might got fucked with a little bit, but people had places to go and teachers were out in the hallway.
Yeah. Well, I think I love the book fair. I love seeing the kids get excited about it. I guess the only equivalent I could see these days is going to like a comic show where it's mostly books, or where it's mostly comics and stuff, instead of the multimedia show where it's like movies and actors and all this.
Yeah, a convention has a bit of that stuff. I think you still get it sometimes when you hit like a specialty store.
Yeah.
Like if you happen to go somewhere that's like a vintage bookstore, or a vintage toy store, or it's a specialty, like it's a hiking store. Like I get this feeling when I go to REI, where I'm like, these are all the things that I want to play with and I want to try out, and I don't know when I'm really going to use them, but boy, howdy, am I fucking excited. I'm going to end up buying something today. I swear to God, I'm going to buy something today. It's that I'm in an environment that I'm not normally in. And it's not a Target and it's not a Walmart. It's like, you're here to do this thing. And it's like, yeah. And you put yourself in a different mental space where you're like, I want this. So like when you go into a comic store, you go in with the mindset of like, fuck, what was the last thing I read? And then what have I seen everybody else geeking out about? And like, what catches my eye? And like, for me, those three things, like I go wandering around and I'm like, all right, I've seen everybody else geeking out about that. I'll wait for the omnibus for that. This seems pretty cool. And this is a thing that one of my friends is working on. Snag.
Yeah.
And then ask them like, hey, when are they doing the full collection? They go, probably another 6 months. You go, okay, cool, thanks. And then you buy everything and then roll the fuck out.
Yeah.
But like, I go in with a different mindset. I don't shop in a comic store the same way I go for groceries.
Right.
I don't go in with a list. I go in with a loose idea of what I want.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right. I think like hitting up those specialty stores, it kind of lights up and you kind of go like, oh man, there's a PRS. There's a PRS. There's a PRS.
Fucking music stores are another great example of that. Where like you go in and you start playing with shit and then you start like, oh man, if only I could afford this and this. Exactly. And next thing you know, you're like, you're moving bills around to figure out how soon you can buy this thing. When you walked in, you had no plans to buy an instrument. Now you were quite literally rearranging your finances to figure out when you can have this piece of wood in your fucking office. Like
that silver sky, man, it keeps calling me.
Telling you, man.
Fucking silver
shit is wild.
But yeah, book fair, I love it. I don't know if there's an equivalent to old people, but book fairs are great. I love it when all the kids are getting excited. They're telling each other what they bought. You know, one of Hazel's friends is really into horror movies, so she got like a horror book.
Nice.
And I was like, we should get her a subscription to Shudder so she can watch all the shit.
By the way, the old people equivalency that I've seen with this are like car shows.
Ah, yeah.
Going to car shows.
Yeah.
Like old men, especially, whether they can afford the car or not, they love going and they love chit chatting with the other guys or whatever it is. And they have every interest to go in there. Nice. And it is like you go there to make them feel good. And they're not necessarily buying anything, but they are very much trading in good nature and compliments.
Yeah.
Because these guys don't fix up that vet and polish that thing for days to drive out there and put the little fucking weird Cabbage Patch Kids that are leaning up against the cars up on the side of the things.
Yeah.
Because they feel good about it. They do it secretly because they want to have another dude with pins in their hats walk up and go, is that a 66? That is gorgeous.
Yeah.
And the paint looks, you spent a lot of time on that, didn't you? How you doing? I'm Barry. Barry? I'm Barry. Great name. Right. Guess our parents were friends. Anyway, but like that sort of shit is what they're trading. And it's kind of an equivalency thing of like, it's a specialty location that you go to that is much more lower key and much more chit chat. And they're looking for certain things. The pay version of that are swap meets, which I don't know if you've ever been to a swap meet.
No, actually.
Swap meet's fucking wild because usually they're automotive based. There's one that happens in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. It's, I don't know, like an hour 15 north of where I live. And it is fucking wild because they basically take like a fairground area and then people basically drive their cars up and load out a bunch of old car parts or old car memorabilia or old signs or Coke bottles or whatever sort of Americana shit you can find.
Oh, cool.
And then usually don't put prices on any of it. And you walk around and casually see something that you really fucking want and then act like you don't want it and then ask how much it is. And then the game's afoot.
Hey, I don't got that. How about
So that's it's carburetor for a GMC, huh? Yeah. Good thing you recognize it. Yeah. What do you had a lot of interest in that today? How much you want for it? $450, huh? Feels a little high. Hey, I'm gonna go take a walk around. If $300. Oh boy, you came down quite a bit. That's real tempting. I'll tell you what, I'm gonna go get a lemonade. I'll be over there and we'll swing back by and and see if anybody else had any interest in it and anything else like that. I don't want to undercut you. And you play this fucking game all day long. And most of the guys walk around with like beach carts or old like Red Ryder wagons or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Full of fucking car parts. The amount of weird, sad dudes with pins in their hats that have Ryder wagons that are full of fucking like Dodge doors and shit. Like guys will put like post sides on them to build up their ability to carry shit and everything else like that. The Mopar guys are fucking bananas.
That's amazing.
The market is fucking crazy.
That's so fun.
The amount of like, what's that? And like, nobody labels anything. You don't know what the fuck anything is. You got to know what the fuck you're looking at because nobody wants to give it away and nobody wants to play around and everybody knows how much the stuff's really worth and everybody knows what the basement is. And it's fucking wild and it's exhausting. It's fucking exhausting.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah, but yeah, I that is rad to see that one, the book fairs are still happening.
Oh yeah.
That warms my heart. And two, to know that kids are still fucking excited about books.
Oh, they love them. They fucking
like
love them.
with how much we have let technology kind of take over. It is really good to see that books are still kind of a staple, that comics are still a staple, that like kids still want to sit down and turn pages.
They absolutely love them.
That's great.
Love them. Brandon, where can people find you?
You can find me and my warmed heart on Instagram, the last bastion of true social media freedom. Thank you, Zuckerberg.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Like a goddamn bald eagle. Anyway, no, he's a fucking cuck too. He somehow is super rich and still can't get a decent haircut.
He's a piece of shit, but he doesn't speak that often. So yeah, that's great.
Fucking
that's great. He doesn't.
Smartest thing Bezos does is just not say a fucking word.
Doesn't say anything.
Anyway, you can find me on Instagram at that guy Chalmers. Jamie Noguchi, where can they find you?
Oh my God, so many fucking places.
I was gonna say I saw you doing the tick and tackins.
It's so labor wise, it's very easy. Like
sure, but you're adding to your to-do list that is already fucking massive.
Yeah, but like taking photos of the in progress shots, instead of uploading them to Twitter, now I upload them to
the Tic Tacs.
Tic Tacs. Yeah. And then you do it once and then you upload it to all the other ones.
To everything else. All right. Well, at least that's not.
Tic Tacs and the Instas and the YouTubes and all that shit and all that kind of stuff. It seems like I'm doing more work. I'm just doing the same stuff, but putting it to different platforms.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Yeah. And then wherever finer podcasts are sold. And the blood feud continues with the boss.
Goddamn right it does. Because we're not going to quit on you. Eventually, they might have a backlog, but I need you to understand, they ain't recording every week. I know their secret. We're going to record shit. I won't buy a newspaper, but
all right, bye.
Bye.
Are you sure? Yes.